Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. We're here with Jeff Epstein from Citizens Media TV to talk a little bit more about modern monetary theory. And first, there's a couple things we're going to go over. There was some, you watched the video again, our videos, and you said there's a couple minor corrections you wanted to make.
Sure. Yeah, I mean...
First of all, welcome to the show, my friend. I just sort of threw you right into it. Sorry.
No problem. No problem. It was honestly, it was a pretty magical experience. It was my first time. To say you were gracious is an understatement because I'm a lot more sharp with it now. And, it's gotten a lot of really amazing feedback. And so it was just a great experience. So, so if you'd like to hear there are some corrections. I went through this video with two people, one that was my teacher, original teacher, and another person who knows way more than I'll ever know. And we walked through the entire video together, and I got a lot of feedback. So there's basically 5 significant corrections, but overall it was pretty solid.
Okay.
So especially from, we're just getting started point of view.
Sure.
So the one thing that you said that was incorrect, but I didn't know it was incorrect, and there's no way you could have known it was incorrect either. It was really more of a framing thing, which was you said the example of if we had $1 trillion in gold and then $1 trillion in money, and that if we doubled the money supply, we would have the value of that money. That's clear. The only thing wrong with that, and I had never heard of it, but now it's pretty clear to me that it makes sense, is that to say that $1 trillion in gold, that doesn't make sense. What is more accurate is we have 3,000 tons or 50,000 tons of gold, which the federal government decides to exchange for, like per ounce, 1 ounce is exchanged for, right. So it's just semantics. It's just, because gold has a weight, it's a substance. The value is just a human decision.
Yeah, that goes up and that fluctuates based on markets or however they determine that, right?
Or just decisions,
right? Just
decisions. The government decides how much a particular weight is worth.
Okay.
So that's just one thing. What else? Inflation. That's the big one probably. Inflation is not when the price of ponies go up. It's not. Inflation is when every single product in the entire United States goes up and continues to go up. It is a macroeconomic phenomenon. It does not affect a single product. It does not affect a single industry. It does not affect even, I forget your excellent term of secondary industries, ancillary industries. Even if all of those things go up because you spend your money foolishly, that's not inflation. Inflation is everything in the entire country.
Okay.
So that's important.
Okay.
That's important. A few more. So the barter example of the business cards. Mm-hmm. There is no historical evidence to support any major economy being run on barter that was then overtaken by the government with money. That's just not historically accurate.
Okay.
What is this? So money came immediately as soon as the government stepped in all historical cases. In fact, I understand that money was written about 5,000 years ago, but barter, I don't know, because I don't actually know the history, but it is not historically accurate to say that barter came first and then the government came in and took it over with money. So money started immediately.
Okay.
And then 2 more. Social Security Administration does not issue the currency. I made it clear that I wasn't sure about that. Social Security Administration does not create the currency for its beneficiaries. It is an accounting agency that determines how much each person should get and then informs the Treasury who creates the currency. Okay. So that's and then the last one. 2 more. They're small. FICA taxes pay for Social Security, which we now know they don't. It's just a political trick. And I said that the cap should be eliminated because it's a regressive tax. But what really should happen is that no one should pay for it. But the way I worded it was FICA tax should be eliminated. It's just important to clarify that we don't want to eliminate the tax. We want people to stop paying it, but we don't want to eliminate the possibility of using the tax. It's like saying I have a wrench. No, I should stop beating people over the head with it, but I don't need to throw it out. I want to put it in my toolbox for later.
Right.
Because it is a tool that we could use among, tons of tools. So it's suspend the FICA tax is just the wording that I should have said.
Okay.
And then the last one is that by far the most important, the purpose of taxes is to drive the currency and drive the economy. There are some uses of the taxes, such as for controlling inflation and for moral decisions, but the purpose, by far the most important reason for taxes, is to drive the currency. So that's all my corrections.
Okay. I think it was really interesting. The thing that I've noticed since this is, first of all, the comments have been like amazing. Everybody was pretty amazed. There was like basically two versions of positive comments. There was, I had no idea, thank you for talking about this, and I've known about MMT, and thank you for making this public. So, excuse me.
I've honestly been overwhelmed with feedback, with positive feedback. I've been receiving these long, detailed emails. It was posted on Naked Capitalism, which I don't know if you knew about or not. This economic blog, and the feedback on there is unreal. You just read, there's like 150 comments from these economic experts, and it's just like, whoa.
Yeah, it's really, it's funny. I've done a bunch of videos. Obviously, I've done thousands of videos, and they'll get sort of varying view types, and every once in a while something will resonate, and it'll go way beyond where I thought it would go. One of them was, I remember when I did this the 2-witness rule for the Jehovah's Witnesses, and wow, I got all of these ex-Jehovah's Witnesses coming out saying, thank you for talking about this. Basically, it's a law that the Jehovah's Witnesses have implemented to protect pedophile priests. And I didn't know this about the Jehovah's Witness, right? And I related a lot of it because I was raised Catholic. And anyway, it was overwhelming, and all of these ex-Jehovah's Witnesses were like, thank you. Here's a non-Jehovah's Witness just doing this story. We didn't know this. When I talked about the Armenian genocide, a bunch of Armenians were like, thank you for talking about this.
Wow, I gotta look at these.
They were really just like, it's a thing that they felt like. And then the one of the biggest videos I did maybe several months ago was about the Rothschild's connection to a sex ring, and that went. Now that's brought in a lot of the like Pizzagate folks. so they all.
I understand. I actually, when I was getting feedback on my video, you brought up not Rothschild specifically, but you brought up something like Illuminati, which is really funny. And as I understand it, Rothschild is the center of like most or many major conspiracies in finance and in other areas as well.
Yeah, so that video it got 38,000 views, and I was like,
whoa,
wow. So it's obviously started to color a lot of my videos when I talk about, because I talk about military spending a lot. I talk about it a lot on this show, and I talk about it to the environment. I kind of hammer those two issues home over and over and over because people need to wake up to it. And the environment to me is the single most important issue. If the environment collapses, it doesn't matter if people agree or don't agree with MMT. But it is.
I would actually say yes, that's true. But it's also true that money in politics. If money in politics doesn't change, then there's nothing we can do about anything, including climate change.
That's a great point. That's a great point. And yeah, I think that's a fair thing to bring up. The question of how do we go right about fixing the environment? There's a bunch of clear solutions, but you're not wrong in that there's this massive hurdle of this broken political system that just takes corporate money and it's corrupt, and then how we're being intentionally misled about money. So it's definitely started to influence a lot of my videos. And I think you said you had some questions for me. You've watched some videos since we've spoken, and
well, I mean. Well, I'm curious, first of all, aside from the videos, what have you noticed in other people's stuff? Like, oh, obviously that's not right kind of thing. Like, what have you noticed? Because it's so prevalent.
Yeah.
I would be,
I've noticed, you know, it's yet another thing that I go, oh God, it's just another trick that politicians use in talking about, oh, we can't afford this and we can't afford that. I mean, I've always come at it as we discussed, you know, when they spend, you know, $700 billion a year on war, of course they can't afford it. You know, like they spend so much money on war. But then as you explained, so I have sort of a dilemma in my head of, is this like too big of a truth pill for so many people to swallow? Like, is there like got to hold their hand up the ladder a little bit before throwing them up away? You know, I don't know what analogy I'm using here, but does that make sense in terms of like, I mean, for me, you explained it to me and it started like, wow, my eyes went, wow. I was like, holy shit. And
I know it was amazing to witness that. And actually I learned in the same way that my teacher, Jeff Ginter, grabbed my hand. And as I said, we just did a deep dive for a good 2 hours and people were witnessing that. And it was an amazing experience and an incredible learning tool, because the people who are in your position, you know, you're going to ask the questions that come from that, you know, position, your state of mind. So you're helping everybody that has your same rough state of mind learn that same thing. And I had the same thing. But as far as the truth, swallowing the truth, whatever the case is, it's the truth.
Right.
So, and if you don't know if there is no way to fight the cheaters if you don't know the rules. There's just no way.
That's true. That's a great
point. So I actually, Jeff and I are starting. He's out in my refrigerator back there. We're starting. We have started an initiative to teach modern money to the powerless masses, and you're sort of the first step with that. Progressive and powerless, you know, disadvantaged, and you know, if we can reach you, maybe your viewers will start to trust us, that kind of thing. And I reached out to a Black Lives Matter chapter local to me, and I know the person who's on the board with that. She knows me. We're friends. And I wrote her and I said, I would really love to teach you modern money. And what she said to me was, you got to be really careful, because if you walk into my world and you pretend as a lily white guy, and Jeff is white as well, that you pretend you know what's best for us, and if you walk into that situation knowing like that, you will burn. You will just go down. And she's absolutely right. And so we're getting together, just a casual conversation of just bringing up our idea and just listening to them, so we can determine, what do they want? Where do they come from? Do they want us at all? And how do we speak to them? And the biggest thing that came out of, we haven't had the meeting yet, but we talked. And the biggest thing that has come out of it is that I understand that a significant amount of their members are really against capitalism. And some of them want to just destroy capitalism. And I don't really have my head around it to say that I want that. I don't think I want that. I definitely want to reform it. But there's nothing wrong with that. And no matter what you want to do or not do, learning modern money will help you do it better. And so I told her that. I said, if you want to destroy capitalism, go for it. If you want to destroy it more effectively, you need to learn this, because this is the truth. And she declined. Sorry about that. Did I go away?
Yeah, you just froze for a second. It's all good.
All right. So it was really interesting. It was really interesting that you cannot just go and shove this down people's throats. You happen to be really generous in doing this incredibly, you're sitting there for a long time. But we have to be really careful. But it's critical to start going to communities that don't, you know, I sort of lost the point of what I was addressing, but
no, it is a valid point, and that brings me into some questions that have been raised just by some of my viewers, which is, and I want to bring these up because I think you just kind of answered one of them. There was a comment here, and I'm going to bring this up on my YouTube, because one of the things I like, barring the once in a blue moon, there's just somebody loses their shit and freaks out, but a lot of the people that, and I've made a point of fostering a community. I always say keep it polite,
civil.
Keep it civil. Like, you can say, I think MMT's bullshit, and here's why. That's cool. But if you're like fuck you, then no. no, you can't. I'm not going to have that on my show. I'm not going to have that.
The comments on both of your videos have been remarkably positive.
Yes, and that was the thing that was really. I didn't know. I didn't know what this MMT video was going to bring. Are a bunch of people going to come forward and just say, Graham, you're out of your mind, you're drinking this crazy Kool-Aid, and the fact that everyone was like, oh, awesome, thank you for bringing this up, and thank you for being open to this. I really appreciate that, because that's one of the things I've wanted to do on this show from the get-go is I want to be open. I don't know everything. I want to be open to, by the way, our videos have gotten 1,700 and 1,100 views, by the way.
I know, it's awesome. It's remarkable.
Which is
it's amazing. It's really heartening.
Yeah,
to see that.
It's a
and your interaction. I mean, that's not an elegant word, but it was not, me teaching it, just lecturing. It is not going to. Our back and forth and your questions and interrupting, and especially your light bulbs, is what made that magical.
Well, thanks, man. I like, that's what I want to learn. I want to ask questions. I don't want to just I'm not going to blindly follow something, but I also want to be open to certain things. I mean, I admit too, like once my mind's made up on something, that's sort of it. But like, I'm willing to hear certain things I won't, like war for profit and stuff like that in the environment. I'm not like, if you're gonna like, Graham, let me show you how climate change isn't real, I'd be like, man, whatever, brother, good luck, But
you can tell the difference between truth and we're smart.
Yeah, there's a difference between there's just flat out facts and truth. There's also, hey, different points of view with regard to certain things, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's nothing wrong with having, hey, I think this, you think that. Okay, that's cool. I really want to find these comments, because one person, and I believe it's this who listens to the show. Here it is. Here's his comment. He listens to the show. He watches the show a lot. Jeremy Chase, and he goes, this is his comment. I'm sorry, but trickle down on steroids via modern monetary theory is not the fucking solution. You have to have zero critical thinking skills to buy into this BS capital theory. Does it change leadership? Does it change who controls the program? Does it change the system that brought us to this point? If you can't answer any of those questions, then that doesn't work for me. So,
can you read the beginning of that again, please?
Yeah, I'm sorry, but trickle down on steroids via modern monetary theory is not the solution.
Trickle down.
So this is what I'm not quite clear on what his dispute is, but what I did pull away from this is that, and maybe he's somebody that is of the ilk, like you were saying that your friend at Black Lives Matter, who's like, well, I don't give a shit about MMT because I want to blow up capitalism.
Yeah, and she actually said that she thought that modern money was based on capitalism, which is not accurate. Oh. She can't know that. So I think that's probably...
All right, so that kind of sounds like, maybe I'm wrong. If I'm putting words into this guy's mouth, I apologize. But let's say, based on what I just read from this gentleman, that he's sort of saying the same thing, which is it just sounds like more capitalist smoke and mirrors. MMT is more capitalist smoke and mirrors. So how would you respond to that? How would you, or someone, and let's put them together with that and your friend who's like, oh, fuck capitalism, we want to blow it up. So explain in more detail what you were going to say of like how you need to know, if you were like, hey, if you guys want to blow it up, great, but you need to know the rules better. So let's go.
You can't fight the cheaters if you don't know the rules.
Yeah.
So it's that simple. You don't have to want to do. You don't have to. There's no such thing as using MMT. There's no such thing as It doesn't make sense to say I'm going to use modern money to solve the world's problems. It's like saying I'm going to use religion. It's like I don't like capitalism and MMT modern money is based on capitalism. That's like saying I'm not going to learn religion because religion is based on Satanism. You can choose Christianity. You can choose Muslim. You can choose Judaism. You can choose Satanism. You can choose nothing. You can choose agnostic, whatever. That doesn't change what religion is. And just like capitalism and socialism, and I don't think communism applies in this particular case, but the various kinds of economies that we could have with our government and the corrupt one that we have now, none of this changes the knowledge of how our economy actually works. I, as a progressive, want to use the knowledge of modern money to implement progressive programs, but that has nothing to do with modern money. Modern money is just the knowledge of where money comes from, that it's not that federal taxes don't pay for federal taxes do not fund federal spending funds federal taxes. That knowledge can be used by libertarians, by Republicans, by progressives, it doesn't matter, or anarchists, whatever it is. The knowledge of how something works has nothing to do with what you choose to do with that knowledge. It's no different. Modern money is no different than religion, is no different than algebra, is no different than chemistry. It's just a discipline of knowledge. What you choose to do or not do with that knowledge is totally up to you.
That is an excellent point, and I'm glad you clarified that, because I think that's helpful because I think it's one of those things, it's such a big paradigm shift that some people just can't get out of the thinking of the old way. So, modern monetary theory is just some new type of capitalism. It's because... Let me give an example. I'm glad you explained it that way so succinctly. It's like when you say let's get rid of the Electoral College, and then people say, oh, well, so then, California and Texas or New York, they're going to decide the election. And I always go, nah, you're applying Electoral College thinking to the popular vote, because there's no state to win, right? There's no state to win. People have a hard time understanding this. There's no, if you get rid of the Electoral College, you don't need to win a state. You just need the most votes. So currently, as I've said this before, so if you live in Iowa, one vote or one Electoral College vote represents 100,000 people. In California, one Electoral College vote represents 400,000 people. So my actual vote in California is less valuable than the person in Iowa.
Right.
So, and we had both candidates in this last election. They didn't campaign. There was about 4 or 5 red states that Trump didn't campaign. And I don't need Wyoming's 4 electoral votes.
Right.
So.
Right.
Actually, then each candidate would have to go, if you get rid of the Electoral College, then each candidate would have to go to every state and get every vote. And if I'm a Democrat,
they would obviously concentrate on the big population centers, but yeah, no, finish what you were saying.
No, I was going to say, so if I'm a Republican, I got to go to California because I need every vote in California, because the vote in California is just as valuable now as the vote in Texas.
True.
And vice versa. If I'm a Democrat, I got to go to Wyoming.
So I'm not exactly clear on how. I have a thought about it, but I'm not exactly clear on how you're connecting this to the.
Here's how I'm connecting the two. Is going back to this person's comment and other people's comments. I use that as an example of how we've been in this line of incorrect thinking for so long, we can't even see this new way of thinking. And I think then we apply the old paradigm within this new one, and that's when you say, oh, see, it won't work. And it's like, no. You've got to change your thinking. And that's, maybe I'm getting too existential here. But
no, actually, you know what? That's interesting that you say that. You have to change your thinking, and that's the end of it. Because you said, we can't do this. Like, I don't remember exactly how you just worded it, but something like, we can't do this. It's deeper than that. We have to change our thinking. But that's the end. Yeah. With modern money, that's just learning that knowledge.
Opens it up.
You can do or not do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to. Going to that next step is beyond the knowledge of modern money. That's what you choose to do with the knowledge. Yeah. So the Electoral College, this feels somewhat unrelated, but I think it is somewhat related, at least interesting, is the Electoral College is not the problem, in my opinion. Getting rid of the Electoral College is not the problem, is not what I care about. Yes, I would certainly consider that. I don't really understand it totally, but the Electoral College is not the problem. The problem is politicians who only win by whiskers and require the Electoral College. If we had a candidate that could get to the general, such as Bernie Sanders, who would inspire millions to go out and vote, the Electoral College don't matter.
Right.
Those superdelegates don't matter. Well, superdelegates, that doesn't apply. That's the primary. But the Electoral College doesn't matter. That only matters for close elections, and we, with the lesser of two evils, we only have close elections. So, but I don't exactly know how that connects, but
yeah, I guess I'm not saying, yeah, maybe that wasn't a great example. I'm just saying there's an example of people applying, I mean, they're applying logic that doesn't apply. Like once they watch or they hear about modern monetary theory, and they're still, when they hear it, they can't let go of the old thinking.
Yeah.
So they're still holding on to the old
true.
thinking. So then they're poking holes in this thing as though they're poking holes in something they don't understand.
I mean,
I guess that's what to say. But anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. It is how the monetary system works.
I know.
Period. What you choose to do with the system, which our politicians choose to screw the powerless and help the powerful, that's what they choose to do with our monetary system. They magically remember modern money when they do the war and do all that, do the tax breaks. They magically remember modern money, that they can just do it. But when it comes to powerless stuff, all of a sudden modern money doesn't apply anymore. That's what they say, as to hide the fact that they actually just don't want to give it to us and keep us powerless and all that stuff. I don't think I totally answered your question, but
no, you kind of did. I'm being tangential here, but I think you answered it initially when you said it's not a type of capitalism. It is the truth of how money is actually handled. It's not a new system. It's literally saying this is actually how it works. This is what they tell us it is. And that's the big hurdle for people to get over. But it's one of those things. It's a huge one. It's like for thousands of years, everybody thought the world was flat. And then this guy said, actually, it's not. And people went, you're out of your goddamn mind. The top scientists in the world are saying it's flat. So you need to just, and it's crazy. And your round globe is going to fuck up our economy and and everything else. But the truth is the planet's round. That's that.
And what it changed is that now people don't have to be afraid of traveling far in the ocean.
Right.
And so same thing here. We don't have to be afraid of like Medicare for all, that kind of thing. And actually, I learned a really interesting. Someone gave me a really, really interesting comment. Tony Weston. He watched our videos, and he said that yes, the linking of the things together, and that progressives should just fight for the good stuff or fight for the bad stuff and not be distracted by the other fight, and all that. The big conclusion that I got. And what he said was that's all fine and that's all fine, but there's another side to this, which is the reason that we fight against Republicans, and I'm just using Republicans loosely as a blanket, but just going with it, is that they are deathly afraid of the short-term consequences of raised taxes. So when they hear us say stuff, progressives say stuff like, oh, we want Medicare for all and all these things that they want, all they think is, and again, it's a blanket statement, but all they think is my taxes are going to go up, I'm going to go out of business. The short-term consequences of my taxes being raised is so devastating that I won't even consider Medicare for all. I am against it.
Right.
So if we can reach out to Republican voters or whoever is afraid of taxes going up because of the programs that progressives want, if we can change their knowledge of how the economy works without bringing up Medicare for all or any of the things that they currently don't want, then we can start to get Republicans on our side. So I think that's a powerful insight.
I think it is a powerful insight. I think there's a lot of powerful populist progressive ideas that can get everyone on board. I think workers' rights are a huge one. Workers' rights transcend ethnicity, whatever. They transcend whatever political affiliation you assign yourself. And I think MMT is a way to get people in that. Like, here's another, I would couch it in this, is here's another way that they're screwing over workers. They're telling you that money is all of these things. We don't have the money for it. And
it's really true. It's really true. I wonder how many Republicans would be like, if I guaranteed that my taxes would not go up, and in fact, they would spend money into the economy, so they probably would get money out of this, or, there would be significant benefit out of this. Mm-hmm. I wonder what they would say about Medicare for all of these things.
They probably would go for it. Again, it's like so much of it is how do you sell the message? How do you get it out there cleanly, succinctly, and honestly so it's easily digestible. But let me read this other thing. And this just somebody just emailed me this, and they're just saying, Graham, they met me at one
before you forgive me, before you do that, can I actually add one last thing to that?
Absolutely, sure.
Which is I think I mentioned this during the video. I don't think I mentioned this beforehand, of this Modern Money education initiative that my friend and I are doing. That's the point of this. Modern money cannot be put on a postcard. It's just not possible.
Right.
That's why, maybe an hour and 40, I could probably sharpen that up a lot. But clearly, no 10, 15, 20-minute video is going to cover this to a point where you can, But that's why this initiative is to teach the masses by starting with leaders like you, starting with the board of local Black Lives Matter, the church leaders, poverty groups, the leaders, so that we can start to reach these people. Because if they don't trust you in order to be able to sit down with you for a while and really have their minds open like you did, there's no way to teach it. There's just no way to teach it. So I'm sorry. So what's your next question?
No, that's a great point. This is something somebody emailed me, and I get a lot of wonderful emails and people very supportive, and sometimes they pose opposite views or different views. And this guy came to one of the shows on the road, and he goes, "It was great meeting you, and you're very funny." And he goes, "I wanted to talk to you about MMT. It's not what they make it out to be. It's not progressive at all. The money that pushes MMT traces back to David Brock. MMT is a rebranding of the Fed system to sell it as something progressive to fool voters. It will cause inflation. It will not stop wars, and it will not fix inequality." So he goes, "I just thought you'd appreciate another perspective on it," which is, I appreciate anyone out there watching. I appreciate you sending me this. He's very respectful. He's not a fuck you. I'm so down with this type of discussion and debate. So when I read that personally, I said, thank you for reading this. And I said, I question, because what I think this, I don't want to get too conspiratorial, but not that this person, but who emailed me, but whoever's
the Illuminati and Rothschild stuff.
Yeah. It's like, and it's like the people that are pushing this, MMT is anti, that feels like deep state stuff. If they're like, they're starting to catch on that our MMT of our scam of money, so we better, put some stuff out there so that there's a questioning of MMT. It's just like, they were very effective at they got this pie in the sky. Single payer healthcare is pie in the sky. Free college tuition is pie in the sky. They did a very effective marketing campaign of just getting those statements on the tip of people's tongues. So friends of mine who call themselves liberal, who were like, "Gee, I love Bernie, but he was too pie in the sky." And I'm like, wow, see how effective that marketing tool was.
99, well, that's probably too high, but I'd say like 93% of progressives, including, with total respect, you before I met you,
sure,
are neoliberals in disguise. They don't know it.
Right.
They don't know it.
We've been fed all this shit, and we don't. So we.
Yeah, it's not sinister. There is nothing sinister about it. It's just what we know. We have been there so effective at it. But as far as this question, I will first just say that the truth is whatever the truth is. If that's the truth, then so be it. I don't think that's the truth. I don't think David Brock has anything to do with modern money. In fact, I'm reasonably confident that's true. I don't have a source at the moment. But, be skeptical, do your homework, and you will decide the truth for yourself. I gave a lot of sources, in a comment on the YouTube video. I gave a lot of sources for people to get started. Mm-hmm. You should look into that if you feel that that's serious. If you feel any of these things might be true, then look into it and determine for yourself. The truth is whatever it is. If that's the truth, then so be it. But what was I going to say? I forget what I was going to say. Forgive me. I forgot what I was going to say. But the truth is whatever it is. Yeah. I don't think that David Brock has anything to do with modern money. I know I have pretty solid faith that that's not true. This has been around for more than 20 years. I'm the third generation of teachers. First generation was like Bill Mitchell and Stephanie Kelton And then my teachers, Jeff Ginter and Ellis Winningham is like whatever, generation 2, and I totally lost it. But
no, that's a good point.
Maybe they answer someone in there.
No, you bring up a good point. It's been this isn't a new thing. People have been talking about it for 20 years, and you've referenced reasonable sources. Yeah, I appreciate this person emailing this and bringing up and asking the question. We should. I say this: don't blindly follow anybody. Don't blindly follow don't blindly follow me. If something I'm saying you call it that you don't like, then email me. Do research. Call it into question.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you'll feel what's true or not true, and I mean, it's to say that it's going to be inflationary and will exacerbate income inequality. That just based on what I understand it to be,
doesn't make sense.
I don't see how that's possible.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I felt the same way of like, based on what you explained to me, and then the research I've been doing a little bit since you and I spoke last. I'm like, how can there be inflation? How can there?
And actually, he says the Treasury, it's basically hiding the Treasury. I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but that it's, the Treasury hiding the Federal Reserve at the beginning of his letter. That's the center of the world. But that's actually the fundamental thing, that the Federal Reserve only works at the command of the Treasury, who works at the command of the law, which the Congress writes. So it's not the center. The Congress is in power. But again, you can't fight the cheaters if you don't know the rules.
Yeah.
So even if that's true, you can't, accurately fight it if, the Constitution says it should be this way, even if maybe it's not being followed. Maybe they're cheating. But
I feel like getting people to wake up to MMT is a definite threat to like the system and the Federal Reserve. So they're going to do whatever they can to undermine it. That's just my thing, because it's just like what you told me. I was like, oh man, it was so simple. It's like it's for me doing this show the last year and a half. Everything has gotten everything is so simple in terms of what the 1%ers are doing is just doing whatever they can to distract and misinform us to profit from it, and hiding MMT from us is just part of that. So, and they will do they will do whatever they can, and they're very skilled at putting messages that look organic out just kind of through social media. So it just seems like, boy, everyone's saying, MMT is part of David Brock's thing. Like that, like anytime you have soy, people go, oh, it's bad. It makes men get breasts and all this other stuff. And I always say, show me the report. Do you have a report? And they always say, no, I heard. I go, show me the report. Show it to me. If you can show me a link, I'll read it, and I'm open to it because I'm open to a clean, healthy diet. But my guess is it's one of those reports that was put out by the Dairy Institute because soy milk and almond milk are fucking killing their business. So, because when you follow the money, learning about MMT, who does it threaten? Right? It threatens the most powerful people. So when you're threatening them, they're going to come out with some crazy shit.
It's definitely in the favor of the powerless more than it's in the favor of the powerful to learn it. I mean, that's true. But they must know it because they wouldn't be able to cheat so well. If they didn't know it, they wouldn't be able to scam us as hard as they are. You can't keep a web of lies like that unless you really know the truth. So,
yeah, that's good. So, well, anything else you want to discuss or bring up?
I do want to say something afterwards, just to tell you.
After we record, you mean?
If that's okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. I want to branch out. I want to teach more people. This is all I want to do. And
well, coming on the show, you're doing it.
Well, that's great. That's great. I mean, this is a big, probably the biggest part of my life right now is just spreading this around. And I think with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, especially her, but she's all alone. She knows modern money. She gets it. She is fighting the fight of not falling for the pay for questions and all that stuff. But she needs allies.
Yeah.
She needs allies. Everyone is just screaming, this is not right. It's really starting to enter the, fight them stage. It's really starting to enter that stage because now Alexandria is starting to, she's stepping her foot in the door of the elites.
Yeah.
And she knows it. She needs help. She needs people that can support her. So, because she's all alone and everybody's screaming the wrong stuff, So reaching other candidates would be an amazing thing. There are progressive candidates out there. The one that we mentioned, the TYT, Brent Welder, Layuba, Shirley in New York won the same night as Alexandria. Brent Welder's coming up. If we can reach these people, in addition to, there's just another class of leaders, especially candidates going to the national stage. If we can reach those people and sit down and make sure that they get it, then Alexandria can have allies in the Congress, and they can create a, just a group of people that do stuff together in the Congress.
Caucus.
Caucus, thank you. They can create a progressive modern money caucus, whatever, in the Congress, and then shit's really going to fly.
Well,
then they're going to be scared.
No, it's an excellent thing that you're doing. So anybody out there watching this video, hit up Jeff at Citizens Media TV, and it's a subject that I'm getting more knowledgeable on, and it's opening up my eyes, and it's influencing a lot of the stories that I cover. So I really thank you, and we'll keep this discussion going because I like having it.
Thank you, Graham.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. And if you haven't, please go back and watch When My Eyes Are Woken Up, the Modern Monetary Theory Explanations. It's a 2-part series. It's very in-depth. So if you haven't, go back and watch those, and then this video will even make more sense. So thanks for watching the show. I've got Seattle. I'm coming up there August 9th, do a live show, and August 11th. All my tour dates are in the show notes below, grahamelwood.com, and please support the Patreon. I just bought I'm putting my hand on, this is my new monitor, so I'm going to get this set up in the next week or two. So we're going to upgrade the studio. So everybody, thanks for watching so much, and thank you, Jeff.